Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first evening of Advent in 2021. For many of you, if you are part of a faith community that celebrated that on Sunday, that was the first week. We'll be doing them every Tuesday night for the next 4 weeks. We'll be running through our Advent series. Before we get to that, let me just welcome everyone and offer you some instructions here, a little bit of how we do the evening, a little bit of logistics. So welcome to any of you who are new tonight, any of you who are watching the recording. What we love people to do is to enable your video if you're not zoomed out. I heard a little bit of that discussion in the beginning. I totally understand that. But if you're not zoomed out, we'd love you to see your faces as part of community and part of kind of sitting around the living room with each other, especially tonight as we'll be sharing some stories here about our favorite ornaments. We'd love you to be in gallery view rather than speaker view. That way you get to see everybody's gorgeous faces. And we'd also love it if you wouldn't mind opening your chat box and typing in your first and last name. Just we like to record who's here as compared to, iPhone 13. And also your email address. We'd love to send an email out just once a week. We're not going to spam you, but we do like to say, here's what happened last week. And if there's a link to the recording, if you enjoyed your time with us, sometimes it's fun to send that email or send that link right to somebody else who you might think would enjoy our evening of conversation. And also, we often tell you what's coming up in the next few weeks at Sanctuary Online. And there's in that spirit of communication, we love to communicate with you and remind you that it's Tuesday. So if you'd like to, you can toss your cell phone address or cell phone number in the chat box, and Barb will grab that up and on Tuesday send you out just a one-line reminder that says it's Tuesday. And today I think Barb said it's Tuesday. Send your pictures in of your favorite ornaments. So a little reminder of what we're doing. So you can do that. If you'd like your cell phone to stay private, you can privately message that to Barb also in the chat room tonight. Just a reminder too, if you did have an enjoyable time, we always put our most recent recordings on our Facebook page. So if you go to our Facebook page, which is Sanctuary in the Woods, you'll be able to see the recording and send that on to folks or just enjoy it again yourself. Beyond that, we also have a YouTube channel. We record every night. So it's just a little bit challenging to find us on YouTube because there's 1,000 things called Sanctuary something. Finally, like I said, if you have like to talk with us at all, our email that we all scoop out is talktous@sanctuaryinthewoods.com. So I want to say, and this is the craziest thing we do every year. We have Thanksgiving, then we have all the Cyber Mondays and the Black Fridays and the Saturday, small business Saturdays. And then we start Advent the same day as we do our largest fundraising program of the year. So today is Giving Tuesday, and the theme of 2021 is Together We Give, Unleash Generosity. And so hopefully you've been seeing our social media posts, but they've been all over stories and Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't had a chance to give yet, just jump on social media after Advent tonight, and we will say thank you. The 3 initiatives we're trying to do with our fundraising income is more Sanctuary Online. Believe it or not, it costs us about $100 a night to put these shows on, and this is show 72. So $7,200 so far. We've not collected a dime or charged anybody for obvious reasons, but that's one of the things we do with your Giving Tuesday donations. We also are continuing to work with our engineers and head toward actually putting buildings on the ground out here, a place to come and be with us on our retreat center. And our biggest initiative going forward this year is actually redesigning, multiculturalizing, and taking CLM, an almost 20-year adult spiritual education curriculum. We are heading to put that baby online and bring it to more and more folks, skipping over the brick and mortar that has restrained her for way too long. So that's a big day today. I don't know why I did that, but it's just in the mood. So I'm going to quickly go over the Advent. I don't want to do too much because that's going to be Ken's tonight. But each evening during Advent, and our series is called Fire and Light, Each evening, we'll open with a candle lighting ceremony. Yvette, you all ready tonight to lead us in that a little short ceremony? Then we'll have a teaching event from Ken, and then we'll have a community conversation. Tonight's conversation is about favorite ornaments. So I know a number of you sent me pictures. If you haven't done that yet, yes, you still can. And yes, I'll get them in the PowerPoint. You can send a picture of your favorite ornament to talk to us at sanctuaryinthewoods.com. And then later on tonight, we will show those photos. Or if your ornament, you can just pick it up and show it to us. That's fine. And then we'll have a wonderful conversation and close things out that way. So that's that. I have to tell you, we are the book club is taking December off because look at all the things I've read. Oh my gosh, all of these books. Woo! And just last week, we discussed State of Terror. If you have not picked up that book, it was wonderfully fun. We had a great conversation. And also, Rachel Maddow had just read the book and was about to have Hillary Rodham Clinton on to interview. And she said she felt like she was chased through the whole book, like a real action book, a lot of fun for our group. And we're skipping December, but in January, we've teed up actually a brand new book called The Personal Librarian. It is getting 5 stars from anyone who's read it. So pick that up and you can read it slow, 2 months to get all the way to our January 25th book club. That one is leaving now. And whoops, that was almost a tease there, Ken. I just was almost giving it away. So Yvette, we would love it if you would open us up tonight. And you know what to do, my friend. Yvette Smith and I, we met, gosh, about almost a year ago now, maybe a little more.
Yeah,
and
a little
have
more than a year
become
ago.
close friends. Yvette is one of the most spiritual people I know. And whenever we're business partners, and whenever things get a bit crazy, Yvette always like sees through all the silliness and the chaos and just grounds all of us, Yvette, with your gorgeous spirit, your beautiful you-ness. And tonight we would love if you would open up our week 1 of our Advent series.
Well, thank you. Is my speaker on? Can you hear me?
We can hear you great, Yvette.
Okay, thank you. So hello, Sanctuary Online family. I am honored to be here. Thank you, Cheryl and Joby, for reaching out to me and inviting me to come here and do something I've never done before. So if I go too long, you can always cut me off. So, again, my name is Yvette Smith. And even though I haven't been able to attend the weekly sessions, I come when I can, but I have received such biblical insights and perspectives and clarity on the Bible and things from the many speakers, from the visitors that have come in. And I didn't receive this in my traditional church going or attendance or Bible study. So a lot of this is opening up a place for me. So I really appreciate you all embracing me with that. I'm not familiar with a lot of the holiday traditions and ceremonies, but what I am familiar with is my spiritual connection with Creator, Father, Mother, God. The Bible was my religious foundation. I appreciate that so much, but this spiritual connection has led me into a deeper faith. Hope is our word for today, for this week, but I just want to say a couple things about faith as I share why hope has a place within me. From my perspective, to say I have faith, because if I was to ask the question, how many people here have faith, and all of the hands would go up, or how many people believe? I was taught that you have faith, you don't know what it is, but you have it, and you hold on to it. And it's a belief I grew up with. I got faith and I'm going to hold on to it. It's a Southern Baptist. And it had an impact, a positive impact on my belief. It kept me safe. It kept me within an environment. It kept me within my boundaries of the community that I lived in. And I did have a great understanding. Well, I'll say I didn't have a great understanding because I only knew that if I wanted something, I had to pray for it. I had to have faith, I had to have hope, And if it was God's will, I would get it. And so there's lots of times that I can say that I lost a lot of hope, because if it didn't happen, that means that I just didn't get it, and it wasn't God's will. But my experience of exercising my faith was the difference. I exercised my faith when I stepped out on faith. I stepped into a realm of unknowing. As a divorced single mom who finally had a senior daughter in college, a freshman son, there was that same year, she was a senior, he was a freshman. I sold my house. I quit a job after 19 years, and I flew the coop. They were in college. All I saw was freedom. I had my wings and I just took off. I left my home for Virginia. I had not secured a job. I hadn't secured a place to live. My family and friends thought I was crazy. But I told them, I said, well, we all believe in God. We all trust. So I'm stepping out on faith, but you're crazy. So I went the crazy route. I'm going to tell you, it was a beautiful journey, but I had a roller coaster journey, and I wouldn't trade anything for it. I experienced homelessness for a brief time, and that taught me a beautiful lesson of humbleness. I made so many friends during this period. This was a part of my journey where I became intimate with hope, not believing there was hope, but knowing and expecting during all of these trials. When I was talking to God, I didn't give anybody else a chance to get a word in edgewise, because when I wasn't talking with him, when I wasn't praying, when I wasn't singing, when I wasn't dancing, it was always something because of expectation I wanted. And when I had done all that I could, losing possessions of what I thought was important, the only way for me to turn was to the inside. I had seen everything that was out there. I had listened to what people had to offer. But when I went inside for the desires that I had wanted, because I had been having these conversations with God, when I looked in and I was just like, all I want is, and that's when I couldn't see anything out there, but what I saw was that little flicker of hope. That little flick, I didn't know what it meant in all of what was going to come out of it, but all I saw was that there's light. And it wasn't at the end of the tunnel, it was the light that attached my soul to the creator of all things. And I went to sleep that night and I had a dream, and I dreamt of this beautiful place that had purple and green walls, and it was just full of energy. And I didn't know what that meant, but long story short, when these messages started coming to me and these actions started putting me in the flow of things, and phone calls started coming in, that little flicker light of hope made my dreams, my desires, all that I had hoped for, all that I would not give up on, all that I would not listen to anyone else, because I had the hope, I had the desire, I had my communication with God that no one else knew about. And from that flourished the things that I had hoped for, the things that I had desired. That I was in another state. I lived on the East Coast. I had moved to the West Coast. I was 3,000 miles away from family and everything. And out of that came a beautiful practice, a beautiful way that I could help people, that I could help people with their pains and their ailments. The desire of my passion was to help people. And out of that patience of having hope and believing and knowing and having faith, that what kept me going. And from that point forward, no matter what obstacles that have come my way, and there have been a few since then, I keep that flame, even though it seems like it's going to be diminished a little bit, but I keep that flame of hope. because I know. And when you know, you don't have to believe anymore. And so tonight, I would love it if you would all would join me. I have a candle here, and I'm going to light this so that we may all know from our souls what hope is, and bring this hope into our home, into our lives, into our community, into the world, because we need it, and all we need is a little flicker and belief, and from that belief, a knowing that hope is alive and well and working through the creator of all that is.
Oh, Yvette,
Thank you.
honey, thank you. Thank you for making it very real tonight. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for opening up our circle tonight with a well-earned understanding of the concept of hope. Thank you, honey. I love you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me.
And Ken, my friend, the night is yours.
Thank you, Joby. Thank you, Yvette. You can preach, girl. You can preach anytime. Thank you for that really personal sharing with us. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Fire and Light, holiday symbols and celebrations from around the world. That's our theme for this Advent season. From time immemorial, human beings realized that there came a moment in time each year, a day, when it stopped being dark longer than it was light. We now know this to be the winter solstice, but for ancient peoples, this was an occasion to begin creating rituals and ceremonies that were designed to push back the darkness, hold back the darkness, and welcome the light back into their lives and into their world. So each one of the great religions now has some festival or ritual involving fire and light that is observed sometime around this season of the year. So each Tuesday night, beginning tonight, we're going to be looking at some of the most important symbols of the great religions. And we're also going to be looking at the way each of them observes this season through fire and light. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs has said, quote, "For though my faith is not yours, and your faith is not mine, if we are each free to light our own flame, then together we can banish the darkness of the world." Close quote. So that's our aim over this Advent season, is to share the ways in which fire and light illuminate the lives of people of faith around the world. First, let me say just briefly something about symbols. In its most obvious meaning, a symbol is something that stands for something else. We're surrounded by symbols, hundreds, even thousands of them every day, most of them so ubiquitous and obvious that we don't even have to stop and think about their meaning. But the most important thing to remember about symbols is that the reality behind the symbol, the thing that the symbol is supposed to point us toward, is always bigger and more important than the symbol itself. And we get into trouble when we start to venerate symbols instead of the realities that they represent. For example, in this country, there are people who practically worship the flag of the United States of America, but some of them have no idea what it stands for, because if they did, they would not have carried it with them while trying to prevent a peaceful transfer of power by overthrowing a freely elected government on January the 6th in this country. And so it is important for us to remember that a symbol stands for something, and what it stands for is what is the most important thing. And so during these periods together for the next few Tuesdays, we're going to be looking at these important symbols of the great religions as a way of trying to understand them better and trying to understand the depth of faith of the millions of people who adhere to each one of these great religions. And we're beginning tonight with Judaism. Judaism actually acknowledges over 100 different symbols. We're going to look at 4 of the most important of those briefly tonight. The first one is the Star of David, the 6-point star, which everybody is familiar with. This is the oldest symbol for Judaism that we know anything about. It is said to go all the way back to King David in the Old Testament. It is believed to have been the shape of his shield when he went into battle. It was a part of Judaism, but didn't really become that important until the 19th century. And then, of course, in the 20th century, the Nazis tried to diminish its importance by making the Jews wear Stars of David yellow cloth attached to their clothing. But the Star of David is probably the most universally recognized symbol for the religion of Judaism. The second one we're going to look at is the scroll, which is a symbol for the Torah. The Torah is the most important sacred writing within Judaism. It's actually the first 5 books of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy comprise the Torah. Every synagogue is required to have an ark, which is a kind of cabinet, and is required to have a Torah, a scroll of those first 5 books of the Bible inside of it. And it's sometimes called the 5 books of Moses because in ancient times people believed that Moses wrote all 5 of these books, but modern biblical scholarship has proven that Moses could not have written them, but it still maintains that distinction of being the most important of all the sacred writings that the faith of Judaism is based upon. The third one we're going to look at is the Chai. This is actually a word symbol. The word in Hebrew literally means life. We're all familiar with the tos l'chaim, which means to life. And for Jews, this word life in Hebrew is a symbol for the sacredness of human life and gratitude for the gift of life that is given to each person by God. The Chai is quite often seen on jewelry. Many Jewish people wear it in the way that Christians wear crosses to be a symbol of the faith in which they believe. The fourth of the symbols that we're going to look at, you can see right here on my right, is the menorah, this 8-branched candelabrum, which leads us also into our first exploration of a celebration that is based in fire and light this time of year in Judaism. Sometimes the celebration, of course, is the Festival of Hanukkah, which is sometimes called the Festival of Lights. About 300 years before the Common Era began, King Antiochus Epiphanes, who was a Greek king, led his army to invade the homeland of the Hebrew people. And the Hebrews were literally taken into slavery inside their own land because Antiochus was determined that he was going to impose Greek culture and language and religion on the Hebrew people. So they were under this terrible oppression for decades and decades until finally 2 brothers, Matthias and Judas Maccabee, were able to raise an army, and they literally were successful in running the Greeks out of their homeland And as they began to restore their own religion, their own culture, they realized that one of the things that the Greeks had done was to desecrate their great temple in Jerusalem, even going to the point of sacrificing a pig on the high altar. And so as they began to try to recover their faith, Judah Maccabee said that they needed to tear out the interior of the temple and replace it, rebuild it. And so they did that. And then when it came time to dedicate the temple, rededicate the temple, they took the menorah and they put it on the high altar, and they went to look for the consecrated olive oil that they used to burn in the menorah. And they found out that the Greeks had broken all their jars of consecrated oil except for one. And it was just a little jar that was designed to burn for only one day. But they put it in the menorah anyway, and they lit it. And the miracle of Hanukkah is that even though it was only supposed to burn for one day, it burned for the entire 8 days of the rededication ceremony of the temple. And so every year around this time, our Jewish friends celebrate Hanukkah by lighting a different candle each night to symbolize the miracle that God performed in letting that little bit of oil burn long enough for them to rededicate their temple. So we begin this series by wishing our Jewish friends a happy Hanukkah. And join me next week because we're going to Asia. We're going to explore the symbols of Hinduism and Buddhism and the festivals of Diwali and Loy Krathong. Joby, back to you.
Thank you, Ken. I'm just wondering if that opened up any questions for anybody before we go right in. Any questions about what Ken just shared on the Jewish faith tonight? Edie, is that you seeking a question?
Yeah, me?
Yvette, go for it.
Yes, it's the Star of David. I don't know, I have been drawn to this, but and thank you for the understanding and clarity of that. What today, how do we bring that into, we look at it as just the Star of David, but how can I form my question? What is behind that? What is behind the Star of David that brings that symbol, the number one symbol for Judaism? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that the answer is that it is based in the role that King David plays in the history of Judaism. The Star of David is a way of remembering David as the king of Israel, who was so important in delivering the people. And so I think that this is a way of honoring history. There's also today within Judaism the idea that the six-pointed star is two triangles superimposed over each other. And I have read articles by Jewish scholars who say that by putting the two triangles together, that is a way for modern Jews to understand the relationship between human beings and the natural world, that we are inextricably a part of the natural world, and also a way of superimposing humanity with the divine, that we are both human and divine at the same time. So there are lots of different, modern ways of interpreting the Star of David, but its role in Judaism, I think, originated with the importance of David as the king of Israel.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a comment. It's not a question really, but the the whole thing of having potato latkes around Hanukkah time is because of the oil that you use to fry them in. And that oil is also symbolic, as you were talking about, Ken, of the oil lasting for so long. So that's one of the things that I always enjoyed about celebrating Hanukkah was the potato latkes, just saying.
When we were in Nazareth, on our Holy Land tour, they were harvesting olives, and they had the donkey pressing the olives. I mean, it was fascinating to watch. This thing had to be centuries old, but the first press of the olive oil always went to the priests and to the temple to be used for the highest holidays and the highest ceremonies. And the rest of it, when we see virgin olive oil, I don't even know what that means anymore, but right down to the pits that were used for cement, they use the entire thing. But the very first siphon off the top was to the temple and to the priests and to the ceremonies. And I thought that was so fascinating. I had no idea about that. But so every time I eat olive oil, I always think of that. We're down the food chain fairly far now. But,
there are delicious,
but it was always
foods,
given as a gift.
associated with the Jewish holidays. When Tom and I lived in North Hollywood,
Yes.
our next door neighbor was an elderly Jewish woman named Nettie. And we had a real tall wooden fence between our house and theirs. But during every Jewish holiday, we'd hear her say, boys, come out here. And she would hand something over the fence to us. And it was always some delicious thing that she had cooked for the holidays.
Fabulous.
Anything else, my friends, before we start taking a look at these amazing ornaments and hearing some great stories? All right, I'm going to sneak back out here then and set up our slideshow. It never fails that someone always likes to send one at the very last minute, but I'm not going to say who it was this time. Kelly, we were just struggling with this, Kelly. If this was two the same kind, if it was broken, what's going on here with these ornaments?
I broke this ornament tonight when I
Taking
was
the pictures
bringing
for
it
us?
in. Yeah, no, I broke it when I was bringing it in. And this is one from my parents' tree. It's very old. They're so delicate. I only have about 4 or 5 of them. And this was the one that was in the best shape. So it was really upsetting to me. But I just love these real old ones, how they took that little wire and crinkled it and then wrapped it around the, you can see in the other picture how thin it is. I mean, I barely tapped it on the wall of the door frame and it just broke.
And Kelly, those are from your mom and dad.
So
Do you know where they
anyway.
got them?
No, I'm sure in the first years they were married because all the first ones that they had forgot to buy hooks. And so you can see on them, my dad went to the garage and took wire and just bent up and made some hooks for them. So you can tell which ones were their first ones.
I love it.
That's so
Love
cute.
it. Thanks, Kelly.
Mhm.
Do you think you
Hey.
can glue it back together?
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
just use it that way.
Yeah, I just leave it like that, like it is.
I'll hide it. I'll turn that one side to the back. At least this year.
Yeah, Kay Neal, you sent us in. It looks like boots and knitting.
That's correct. All the time that I was growing up, my dad never wore that fancy of a boot, although he did occasionally wear ones that had spurs on them, but it wouldn't have been that decorated. But my dad, all his working life, wore a cowboy boot nearly all the time. And my mother was a knitter, and that ornament looks exactly like the balls of yarn that she used to have in her knitting bag. as well as the knitting needles. But she knit me lots of sweaters. She knit sweaters for babies. She taught knitting, and she didn't do real well teaching me, but I did take it up about 15 or 16 years ago. I took it up again, and I can knit a scarf, or I can knit dishcloths. But I mostly just leave them, and I just leave them the way they are. I don't knit anymore. But both my parents have been gone for a while, and this year my wife and just discovered these glass ornaments and decided that she found some for her parents, and then she discovered these, and so they're on our trees for the first time this year.
Oh, fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic. They're beautiful. I love this, like the memory. I was glad when Cheryl sent you that note of your mom and dad. So thanks, Kay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Kim, this looks like a series of ornaments here. Can you unmute yourself and tell us about them?
I guess I'm the one that snuck it in late. Sorry.
I didn't say a thing.
They're just three of
I didn't say
my
a thing.
favorite ornaments. I know. I'm calling myself out. It's just our three kids. Morgan is the top one as her first Christmas, and then Mackenzie is the one right next to her. And then I always loved Madison's first grade picture. So those are just from a couple years ago that I took that picture, because everything is in boxes right now.
Yep, the A+ kid. I love that. Was that Madison's vision of herself, or was that your hope?
She's always been bigger than life. That kid just turned 19 last week.
19.
So cute.
Wow.
The A+ kid is 19. Good grief. That doesn't even seem
Wow.
possible.
No.
Well, thanks for getting those out, Kim.
Thank you for getting it up.
Sure. That's I'm prepared in the background for nights like this. I have learned over many seasons of Sanctuary Online, especially in our community, no one does anything ahead of time, right? Can I get an amen? Right? Nobody does anything ahead of time. I got all these pictures, I think, today. Ken and Tom, Ken, you might have to hold yours up, because if you look in this picture really closely, I'm going to help you here with, there's a little guy right here, little, like, looks like stick and fabric. And there's another guy over here. Can you guys see my arrow? I think you can, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And then there's a bottom
The reindeer.
here, and then there's 2 little feet. We cut him off up there. So I think there's 4 little fellas here. Is that right, Ken?
There are actually 5 of those. They're little burrows that are made out of corn husks, and they have toothpick legs. And in 1976, Tom and I, in February, had our first commitment ceremony, our Holy Union in MCC in Chicago. And the next day we flew down to Mexico, and we traveled around Mexico, and we ended up in Acapulco. And one day we were sitting under a palapa out on the beach in Acapulco, and this little boy came by, and he was selling these little burrows made out of corn husks. And so we bought 5 of them, and we said at the time, this will be our first Christmas tree ornaments. And they have now been on 45 Christmas trees.
Wow.
So I wouldn't say that they're as older than some of the folks on this call, Ken, but they're up there, okay? So they're wonderful.
So amazing.
Jane Ann, you've got a series. I think I have 2 slides for you. I didn't get a Christmas tree picture out. Maybe I can try and do that while we're chatting. But what do you have here, my friend? What does the heck chips have to do with Christmas?
Well, my weakness in life, or my best snack, or my best passion, are chips. And so a friend of mine found this chip bag ornament. It's actually a glass ornament. I mean, anyway, so that was on my tree, and putting it away last year, I broke it. And so the back of it is broken. She would have a fit, I'm sure, if she saw that it was broken. But it just reminds me of my, like I could eat a bag of chips for dinner. And so that the chips are on the tree is pretty significant. The one on the left in 2008, when my partner Stephen passed away quite suddenly, I actually went because Christmas was really special to us. And I went to Pier 1 and hung myself over the counter and asked them if they needed Christmas help, because I was grieving and I didn't know what to do. So spending other people's money appealed to me. Anyway, this ornament is from Pier 1, but it was from Italy. And there's a couple, and they would blow the glass. He would take 3 breaths, one for the body, one for the head. And then as he held in his breath, it would turn into the hat, and then she would paint them. And of course the nose, I can't believe that this like I only had the chip ornament for not even a season and it broke. But look at the carrot nose on that Italian glass ornament. And I've had that since 2008. And I think it's the spirit of Stephen, actually, because it's never broken.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But the chip one, a lesson. So those are the Italian one is one of my absolute favorite ornaments, and it's packed in all sorts of bubble light and everything so that it absolutely cannot break. But
Yeah.
it's made it for a long time.
And this one is new, Jane Ann?
And this is my newest one. This is actually on the wreath on my front door. And when my mom passed away last year, just before, and my mom and dad passed within 5 months of each other. And when I would be walking Maya during the time that my dad was still with us, this cardinal kept coming to me on the path. And I know that there's a lot of symbolism around cardinals and that they represent angels and visitors. But I would talk to my mother. So anyway, I had to have, so I decided that this year my whole house is going to be red instead of orange. And I got the cardinal.
Oh my gosh, that's a big change.
Oh,
for
that's
you.
a big change for you.
Yeah, it's huge. And well, I still have orange lights on the tree, which I sent you 2 different trees because my tree has orange lights on it. And it's been pretty spectacular over the years because it's different, but I'm going to try to do a lot of red this year. So I have red cardinals and red amaryllis, and it's going to be red. I sent it to you an email at Talk to Us.
Why,
Oh, yeah.
why did you used to have orange for Christmas?
Oh, because
Because of her hair.
so my counseling office was in downtown Toronto, and one year Holt Renfrew had orange lights on their Christmas trees in their store. And I just love the color orange, and I just thought it was so unusual. And so anyway, at the end of the season, I was in their restaurant, and in the hallway were all the orange lights from the trees in green garbage bags. And I asked the maitre d' of the restaurant what they were doing with them. He said, oh, they're going to the garbage. I went, are you kidding me? All those lights? He said, yeah, if you want to take them, you can. So I pulled my car out of the underground parking lot, and I went, I went to the loading dock, and I got like thousands. They were 7 green garbage bags full of orange lights.
Wow.
And I've had them ever since.
I thought you were a Longhorn fan up there in Canada.
So this is last year, my first tree in my condo.
It's beautiful.
In Elora, and the other picture was from 2019. But the tree itself, my mother bought me in 1990 for my housewarming gift in my house in Toronto. And gradually it was a huge tree, and now it's become a slim tree because I keep cutting dead ends off the wire.
Yeah,
But I don't have a heart to get rid of it.
I love what you do for Christmas. You decorate so beautifully every year. It's just stunning to see it. So
I
I'm
just
glad you
love it.
created a new home
It's
there
all
for
sit in
yourself.
this box.
I know, it's funny this
I do
year.
it for me.
We've got a lot of folks who said ornaments. I don't have my ornaments out yet. What are you thinking, you silly people? So
Yeah. It's
we
all
might
in
have some
boxes.
ornament
I don't
pictures
have it up yet.
lingering over the next few weeks. That's perfectly fine. Well, thank you, Jane Ann. Darcel,
You're
speaking
welcome.
of cozy homes,
Oh,
Oh,
look at that.
how cute.
Look at how cute that one is.
Tom, can you see it? Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Hold on. It went there. There you go.
Do you have a farm is it seriously Cole Farms?
Yeah.
Actually, yes, my brother now runs it, Jordy's
Aw.
dad. And
Oh,
he, right after, I believe it was when my mom passed in 2005, Kevin, our brother, had it painted red. And Tom sent this to me, I would say 15 years ago, maybe. And I just,
Aw.
when I opened it up, I cried because it
Aw.
reminded me of the farmhouse, or
Yeah,
at least the barn. But I'm sure
beautiful.
Jordy would love that too. But this, along with the many cows that I have on my
Saw the
on my
cow, yeah.
tree, and also a lot of letter carrier themed ornaments, but this has got to be one of my favorites.
That's gorgeous, Darcel.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
well, Tom
I
had
love
a
it.
touch of writing Cole Farms on it, and that just tickled me.
Of course he
Yes.
did. Because Tom, for those of you who don't know, Tom was a set designer years and years ago. And that's why tonight, even Ken's beautiful set design had to pass the Tom Cole eye this evening. So it's like, okay, tree over here, candles over here, menorah and everything. Tom always makes everything beautiful and perfect. That's just his gift.
Yeah.
Jordy, what do you think about
Wow.
that? They look like the farm?
It sure does. It's beautiful. I took a screenshot. I'm going to share it with my folks. So they'll be so overjoyed to see that.
Oh, good, good.
That's so pretty.
I'm curious if anybody has one. Have you dug up an ornament that you want to just show on the screen? Anybody have one near, or have even a story of an ornament that we want to share?
Hey, Joby, I'll tell you a story.
Thanks, Kristen. Hold on here. I'm gonna get
I'm
rid of
not
this.
home, but and I couldn't find a good enough photo. And sorry again, I don't have my video on, but I'm in a hotel with some not great internet. But I only got my very own tree when I first time I lived alone was in 2002. So I went from my parents' house to college to my parents' house to getting married, and that was dumb, and back to my parents' house. And then I moved out to Chicago. And Joby, this might be somebody you know, but Audrey and Eileen, who are my coworkers when I worked in corporate training, I invited them to my apartment, and they brought me these set of 6 icicle angels. And it was the first, it's the first ornaments that anybody ever gave me for my own tree.
Wow.
And every year they're the first ones I hang up. And last year I switched to a very small fake tree because I do live alone and I don't have a lot of people over. And I was like, oh my gosh, these icicles are too heavy. What am I going to do? So I strung them up across my window, and now they are window ornaments because I have to have them. And I think of them, even though I'm not close with Audrey or Eileen anymore, I think of them every year. And it's just, I think, always nice to have an ornament that makes you think of the people who gave it to you. So I like to give ornaments to people, and I hope they think of me too.
Kristen, that's a gorgeous story. It is. Ornaments are just they're so interesting. You know, you can buy all these beautiful ones, or as Ken, you can buy these simple ones and hold them for 40 some years. I want to show you a couple that are also on that beautiful tree behind Tom and Ken, because as I was sharing with you, it's not only the beginning of Advent, it's not only Thanksgiving and all these special days of, you know, Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Small Business Saturday and Giving Tuesday, but December 1st, tomorrow, is also World AIDS Day. And I don't know if any of you might recognize this name, but Christopher Radke, apparently, and Tom or Ken, make sure I get this right. He made a special ornament. I think this one was probably circa 1985, in the very beginning of AIDS, when they were trying to raise money. And they're quite expensive, quite beautiful. And all the proceeds he would donate to AIDS research. And so this guy is just a little snowman right on that tree, tucked into that tree behind Ken. And then I like this little fellow. He's like a little elf with a little green, this just cracks me up. These are so beautiful. And they're tucked in with thousands of other ornaments just as beautiful. And Tom and Ken and I tonight had to find them, somewhere on the tree. Like, where's this little elf? He's got a green hat. Okay, I think he's got a tie. And same thing, another Christopher Radke ornament. And then the third one, I think you guys have 4, but with the third one we could find was Santa in a tub, which makes perfect sense somehow to someone.
That's great.
Somewhere.
The bubbles.
But yeah, all the bubbles in his beard. I think that might be, what is that, Tom? What is it, is it a little chicken? Do you know?
Duck.
It's a duck?
Got
That's
a
rubber
rubber
duck. Of course
ducky.
it is. It's a rubber duck. He is in a bathtub. Cheryl. And then, yeah, so those ones are gorgeous. If you ever have a chance to see a Christopher Radke ornament and pick that up and know that the money is still, all the proceeds there going to AIDS research. And this, my friends, is
still
not
do?
Pardon?
They still do? All the proceeds still do?
Yeah, Kelly, Tom, he's still making ornaments, right? He's still making ornaments?
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
famous.
It's
For
Rad,
years-
it's Radco, not Radkey.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
For years, he was part of the HRC catalog that we used to buy. I don't know where they are now, but we used to buy his ad ornament every year for the
Wow.
money went to HRC.
HRC, Human Rights Campaign for.
Yeah, I
thanks,
buy it.
Cynthia. Yeah. Thank you, folks. Any others? I have one finishing one, but it's not really an ornament because, oh, go ahead, Janice. What do you have, my friend?
Well, when Roberta and I first got together 32 years ago, she called me Baby Duck. And I called her Lovely Lady. But so everything we addressed to each other was Baby Duck and Lovely Lady. And but also she was raised in the country and kind of had this symbol of boots. She wore boots a lot and she loved boots. And so our tree has, when we cut it up, had a lot of baby duck symbols of some kind, duck symbols and boots on it. I'm not planning to put a tree up this year because we're going to be gone after the 31st, after the 21st. But we also put a lot of pictures on our tree. Pictures of grandkids, pictures of kids, us, pictures of all kinds of things. So we have a lot of pictures on our tree.
Yeah, that's cool.
nice.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Edie, this might make sense to you. I think Lisa was on here a little bit ago. This many years ago was going to be my first overseas Christmas. I was in Okinawa, Japan, and I had knee surgery over there because I blew it. I had knee surgery in California. I had to go to Japan. I blew my knee as soon as I got there on a bike accident, and so I was sent up for surgery, and I was sent away from all of my squadron who was on Iwakuni in Iwakuni, and I was over on an island called Okinawa. And some folks took me in there, some women Marines, there are lesbians everywhere on the planet wearing Marine Corps uniforms, God bless them. And my sister-in-law sent me this, and it's a little tiny tree. So I had to have this probably since 1984. And we kind of leave it decorated, and we just squish it all up every year because it's the perfect tree for a tiny house, don't you think? It's only about a foot tall, so it's not quite as ornate as some of the things we've seen tonight. Doesn't have memories on it. It in itself is a memory, and just warms me that across the oceans, across the miles, man, when you're alone in the military, there's nothing like something special like that, right? From someone who you know is thinking of you weeks ahead in order to get it there on time. So I've never been without this little tree in all my life since then. Oh, it is 8:04, my friends. Any other stories or ornaments, or I just will do a quick reminder. Let me grab my screen again. And this is how this is going to roll each week. So if you're curious, tonight was Judaism and favorite ornaments. Next week, we'd love to hear about favorite holiday traditions, okay? Any traditions in your family, and they can be from when you were young or a tradition that you have right now. But if you could throw in a picture, a memory of that tradition, it would be wonderful. And Ken will do fire and light from the Hindu and Buddhist traditions of Diwali and Loy Krathong. I think that's going to be really interesting. On the 14th, we're going to be doing acts of service. And once again, my family does a big act of service as part of its Christmas celebration every year. We've been doing it for nearly 2 decades. But sometimes you have a group that you do it with, or a group of friends maybe, or a faith family that does some kind of act of service. So start thinking of that. What are the things that you share that maybe you do that's kind of paying it forward to folks who you can brighten their experience of the season? And then the last weekend, the last week of Advent will be December 21st. We'll be talking about Christianity and also our most memorable holidays. Okay, so and I want you to think ahead of time, because I'd love it if you can think all the way. Is there a photograph that might remind us, and you could share that photograph and tell the story? All right. So tonight, as we leave, we are big fans. This is our 4th year doing Giving Tuesday. And I know there are wonderful organizations out there that all need your support last year and this year, because so many people's donor base was deeply impacted by folks not working or losing jobs and such because of COVID. There are wonderful organizations, foundations, and faith communities that are doing Giving Tuesday programs today. So if you have got any money left over from Black Friday or Cyber Monday, find a great organization tonight. All of them have their coffers open, I promise you, as do we, of course. And thank you already for those of you who supported us. We want to continue to do all that we feel called to do here at Sanctuary. And the way we do that is through this, really our primary fundraising of our year. And we just appreciate all of you. So go out there and spread it forward. All right, my friends. And
Are you close to the goal, Joby?
you know, we just passed 60% before coming online. Let me see here quickly.
I think you're at 75, Joe.
I think we are at 75.03%. So we're close, Jane Ann. Thank you for your check right before.
Yes.
we
And thank
came
you
on.
all for all that you gave. Many of you have already given. So thank you
I
very,
know,
very
but it
much
drives
for
me
your
crazy to
donation.
lose 25% on the dollar
I know.
when it converts through PayPal. It drives me nuts. So
Well, and
I wish
God
there was a
bless
way
you,
of getting them
Canadian.
more money directly to you.
Part of that
What's
is
the
the
goal?
Canadian what's the word, Cheryl? Canadian
Exchange.
the USD exchange.
For
Yeah.
the exchange, yeah.
It's funny,
Exchange,
Jan.
yes.
Yeah, this year I was going 2018, 19, 2021, people who've given us and how much they've given each year. And you can see the Canadians based on the different exchange level each year. We got more or less based on, it
Yeah.
just goes poof as it crosses the border, and we're still appreciative. So Yvette, why don't you take us out and let us blow these lights together into the world, my friend. Can you do that, Yvette? Can you unmute and just blow us out?
I can. We're sending love, light, hope to the world.
Yeah.
Thank you. Blessings.